Hey guys, Sean T. Phillips here with my brand new DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video today. Today gonna go out, see what things came out today, see what things are on sale. Probably gonna go to a thrift store as well today, or a couple other ones, I haven't been to in a while. The big things that came out today were the Best Buy exclusives. There was like a Bowfinger one, Problem Child, Baseketball, and I think the other one was Edtv, and I was looking online. It doesn't look like any of them have got them in yet. Like there's like one or two like sporadic locations like 100 miles away. So it seems like from what I was looking at online, they're not going to be in the stores until like Sunday, and some will like randomly get them in, but there's going to be like store displays. So I ended up ordering 3 of them, but the only one I couldn't find was Bowfinger. For some reason on Best Buy site, it's not on there to order. I don't know why. So that's one of those ones I'm going to still have to try and find. Of course, I'll look at Best Buy today just to see if somehow they have it in there. But it doesn't look like it's going to be ones that I'm going to be able to find. So if you guys do want to get those, you can do the store locator thing. But it seems like it's really sporadic, and from what I can tell, not going to really be out until like Sundays most places, from what I can tell from looking online. Anyway, though, also at the end of this video, going to have some new DVD and Blu-ray reviews as well, for some things I received to review and talk about. So stay tuned for those at the end of this video. But anyway, though, guys, let's get going and see what we can find today. Into Target we go. And today the main thing that came out today, was King Arthur. I'm going to have a review of this one at the end of the video, the Guy Ritchie film. And this one, Snatch, came out. This is one of those ones, too, that got, some mixed reviews. But it was actually kind of funny with her, Amy Schumer and her mom's character, played by Goldie Hawn, going on this trip, because Amy Schumer just, broke up with her boyfriend. They go on this trip together that was supposed to be with her and her boyfriend, and they have all these problems and get kidnapped and stuff. It was actually kind of funny. It wasn't, anything amazing, but there was some funny stuff to that. Other than that, though, this one I believe was today. This one, The Dinner. I'm pretty sure this one had released today, and they finally have this one in the store. I hadn't seen this one in person anywhere. This really weird Tom and Jerry thing, which is Tom and Jerry, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and they basically, remade the Willy Wonka movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but added Tom and Jerry in it, messing around and screwing around with stuff. If anybody watched this, let me know if this was any good at all. It just looked like a really strange thing. But one of the only other things that released today was Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul. And I actually saw this one in theaters because I wanted to see it because Elisa Silverstone was in it playing the mother. I never actually saw any of the other Diary of the Wimpy Kid movies, but it was kind of funny. I always like Elisa Silverstone, and this is the first, I think, theatrical thing I had seen her in a really, really long time. But kind of fun movie. Like I said, never saw, though, any of the other ones. And I'm kind of throughout the day looking back at the Best Buy website, putting in the store locator and stuff like that to see if they end up adding it into the store, because if they do end up having them in Best Buy, those exclusive ones, like I said, the only one I really have to try and find is that Bowfinger one. Of course, there's always one, that I can't get, but I keep on looking because you can look on there, and if they do have it in the store, you can do buy it online, and they can do in-store pickup, because at the moment, that's the only way it seems to get it, because for some reason, like I said, it's not listed for sale on the website at all. I'm sure it's going to change, though, probably in a week or so. Into Walmart we go. And over here, their King Arthur, their 4K is $29.96. And then, I thought there was supposed to be a 4K of this one, but I haven't seen this anywhere of this movie. They didn't have it at Target either. Other than that, though, this one came out today. This one called Blind, which if you guys have seen this one, let me know how this one is. I think it's I think Alec Baldwin goes blind in this or something, in an accident, I believe. But I don't know a whole lot about this. Other than that, though, this one, I'm going to talk about this one at the end of this video. Hunter's Prayer released, and I actually really like this one. It's sort of like an alternate take on the movie Taken a little bit, about the guy, is trying, is going to kill this girl, but then he ends up liking her and decides he wants to try and save her. But this one today came out, and for some reason I kind of want to watch this. I know this is going to be kind of ridiculous. This movie called Undercover Grandpa, and this looks really ridiculous. It looks sort of like an Agent Cody Banks kind of movie. I might get this one And other than that, though, they have this one in here that came out called The Sea. Yeah, so I ended up getting that Undercover Grandpa. I know it's going to be kind of ridiculous. It's like James Caan, and it just sort of sounded kind of interesting, sort of like a Adrian Cody Banks kind of movie. It might be, though, a little cringy. I don't really know. It just looked kind of like a fun, ridiculous movie. Into the CRC resale store we go. Yeah, but in there, though, there really wasn't much. I was looking through everything, and they were playing the most copyrighted music in the world, Michael Jackson, so I definitely couldn't really get much video of me talking in there. But look through everything. You know, this place, I've come to this maybe like 2 times, and they've kind of changed the section out a little bit. There's a decent amount of stuff in here, but it's just a lot of really super common stuff you see all the time. So nothing really that different in there today, though. Into the Goodwill we go. So we'll take a look and see if there's anything in here different today. I haven't been to this Goodwill in a really long time. Like I always say, the one thing with Goodwill, though, is the problem is a lot of times they like scan the prices of stuff, so they kind of know, you know, what everything is worth. Luckily enough, no, there's no music playing in here, because usually in the Goodwills there's usually a lot of music blasting and stuff, so I don't really get much in here, kind of like in the last place. But like I said, we'll see though if there's anything else in here different today. They always do have some decent TV shows and stuff in here. Like, you don't see Big Love too often, so TV wise you come across some decent different stuff in here every so often. This, you know, like I always say though, Family Guy, that's the thing though I feel like you always see in these places. But looking like a lot of common stuff, but we'll see though. There's a bunch of these different HD, you know, ones in here. And I always think about how, like, I don't know why, when these first came out, I thought this was the format that was going to, like, win. Like, at one point, like, it really seemed like everyone was going on and on, like, 4K was going to be the thing that everybody, you know, went with, and no one did. And it, like, failed very early on, but $5 for these is sort of high for those, you know, that's not really the greatest price or anything for those ones. But, yeah, looking like just a lot of typical kind of stuff in here, nothing really too different in here today. And this past weekend I saw a couple different movies. The first one I saw was The Dark Tower. That's based on the Stephen King book series. That's one of the Stephen King, you know, series that I didn't really know much about. Like, I had heard the title, but had never really heard too much about the story or anything like that. The movie-wise, though, reviews has gotten some really negative reviews. I didn't see anything the matter with it at all. Like, I actually thought it was a pretty cool movie. I know, like, not everything in it was perfect. I thought Matthew McConaughey was really cool in it, playing this, like, really emotionless person, and, like, he has, like, a really creepy, weird vibe to it. And it was basically about this kid who was seeing these weird visions and these dreams of this big giant tower and this gunslinger guy and these like people who had like these fake skin masks that they were wearing, and he was having all these weird dreams and drawing them all on his walls and stuff. And then he starts to discover though that these things are actually real and these people are trying to come and get him, and he has to try and find the one guy that he's seeing in his dreams and try and stop the whole thing. I thought it was a really cool movie. The other one that I saw was Detroit, which is directed by Catherine Bigelow, who's done like The Hurt Locker. But my favorite thing that she ever directed was Near Dark. I feel like that's probably like my top favorite vampire movie, tied with The Lost Boys. Like, Near Dark is one of those ones though you don't hear people talk about it as much. It's just such a cool vampire movie. But this one, you know, is based on the true story in Detroit with the riots going on and like the terrible stuff the cops did to these African Americans because they thought they like fired this gun at them, and they were like questioning them like, where's the gun? And like, most of this stuff had happened. I know they said some of the stuff was changed because no one totally knows exactly what these cops did for sure, because a lot of them people had gotten killed in there. It was a terrible story about all these awful things that had happened, but really well done. And the last one I saw was Kidnap, and that was, you know, the Halle Berry film, and that movie was supposed to come out like, I think like October 2015, so it's been done for years. It had all these delays because the company that made it was the same company that made Masterminds. I think it was like Relatively Media, and like they went bankrupt, so like a lot of their movies like were up in limbo, and they didn't know if they were ever going to get released. I don't know if there's any other ones that they were going to release that are still up in limbo or not, but I actually thought that was a crazy movie. It was Halle Berry goes to the fair with her child, and her kid gets kidnapped in this car and pulled into the car, and she starts chasing with her car and trying to find them and going through all these crazy like chases and all this nuts stuff going on. The kidnappers were like really crazy too, like these weird kidnappers. I thought it was a really cool, crazy movie, and a lot of people was thinking, you know, it didn't come out though because it wasn't great or something, that's why all the delays. But no, the big thing was all that problem with the Relatively Media. I believe that was the company that had all these problems with these things up in limbo and stuff. stuff. So glad it finally, did get released. Let me know though what, below what movies you guys saw this weekend, if you saw anything, and what you saw, if you guys saw any of the ones that I saw. Into Best Buy we go. And in here today, I mentioned about Snatch. I saw on the front, though, there is a 4K edition of that one. But this is pretty cool. This one released today, the 20th anniversary edition of Fargo. It's in this steelbook case. This is from Shout Factory released this. I'm pretty sure it's the same disc that, Warner Brothers released in the past, but in the Shout Factory's new exclusive case. I'm pretty sure about that, but I'm not 100% certain. Other than that, though, like I said, there's a King Arthur, and there's this other King Arthur movie that I think this might have been today. I don't know. I think this might have been a couple weeks back. Other than that, though, nothing really else too different in here today. But, the main thing I wanted were those exclusive ones in there, and no luck with those. And it looked like one of them might have gotten delayed on the order, like the Baseketball thing, so I don't know. But no, I didn't see any of those exclusive ones in there, and I kept looking throughout the day, to see if they added up online, any stores that had put them out. So hopefully, though, because like I said, the only one that I still am going to have to find is the Bowfinger one, because for some reason, as of now, it's still not up on the website. So hopefully I can find that one. And I'm just gonna have to keep looking on the store locator thing to see whenever they do end up having them in the store, and then I can probably order them online and then pick them up in there, because it seems like that's gonna be the only way. If any of you guys though found those exclusives in the store, let me know. But anyway though, guys, like I always say, if you guys enjoy these shopping videos, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Now stay tuned for some new DVD and Blu-ray reviews. And the first one I got from Arrow Video is the brand new edition of Reanimator. The cover on this one is amazing. Such a cool look. As you guys know in the movie, the serum color is like green, so it has the color of the serum in the, the green in this cover, but such a cool edition here. I'm going to show you guys inside this one. This is a two-disc set, which has the unrated version of the movie, as well as a 20-minute longer version of the movie, which I don't believe had ever been released before, at least in the U.S. And there's a bunch of different features on here. It has on here, though, a brand new commentary track with Stuart Gordon, as well as a making of the movie, the original commentary track from years back, brand new conversation here with Barbara Crompton, talking about her career. This is an interview from 2015, as well as deleted scenes, extended scenes, trailers, TV spots. So tons and tons of features on this one. But I'm going to show you guys a look inside. And if you guys don't know the Reanimator movie, it's basically, though, about Jeffrey Combs' character, who's this medical student. He's in Germany. He's messing around with this weird serum trying to bring back dead bodies. And of course, though, it goes totally wrong, so he ends up transferring to this medical school in America, and then he ends up meeting this medical student there. And he ends up, that medical student needs a roommate, and he ends up, staying at his house, and he's doing more weird experiments in the basement there, and starts screwing around with things, and everything basically goes awry with all of his weird experiments of trying to bring back the dead. Really cool movie. I watched this again last night for the first time in a long time. Really great movie. The sequels were really cool as well. Arrow released Bride of Reanimator. Hopefully the other one, I think it's Beyond Reanimator, the one that was in prison, comes out at some point as well on Blu-ray. But it has in here, though, a bunch of lobby cards for the movie, some lobby cards here, and then here's the serum I was mentioning, as well as and here's also a booklet with some facts and stuff like that about the film, some information and stuff like that. It's always cool that Arrow includes these ones in their releases. And one of the other things in here too, this is exclusive to the limited edition, as well as the the second edition of the movie, the longer cut, is a comic book in here, a Re-Animator comic book. So it's a big comic book thing in here. So that's very cool. That was included in here as well. Like I said, that's part of the limited edition version of the film. But this is definitely, the picture quality on this one is great, because there was an old release, from years back from Image, and the picture was not amazing. Picture on this one is definitely a huge improvement. It's from, a brand new 4K transfer of the movie. But like I said, I watched this again for the first time last night. Hadn't seen this movie in a number of years, but really, really holds up. Great, effects in this one. Just a really, really cool movie. The next one here from Lionsgate, and this one I saw in theaters as well. This stars the same actor, who never know how to say his name properly, but he was in Instructions Not Included, and he was one of the biggest stars of all time in Mexico, and he came to America I think in 2011, and he's been doing really well here. I think the first movie I remembered seeing him in was Jack and Jill, and he had probably one of the most memorable scenes in that movie. But This movie is How to Be a Latin Lover. I also really loved Instructions Not Included, his last movie that that he starred in. But he's been doing a whole lot of stuff. But it's basically though he plays this guy like when he's a kid. He like his dream is really to never have to work, never have to do anything, and he wants to basically be find a really rich older woman and then get her to marry him. So then he can just basically live off her and just kind of wait on her hand and foot and just kind of like do nothing. Just kind of has all this money all the time. Of course, though, that works out, but now this is set now, and he's an older guy, he's like in his 40s, and basically the older woman now, she's like in her 80s, and she wants to trade up and get a younger guy, and Michael Cera comes in and takes over his place, and he ends up getting kicked out. He's living in Hollywood, and he gets kicked out and doesn't know where he's going to go. He doesn't really have he has absolutely no money because she cut him off from everything, so he's got no money whatsoever, and he had this elaborate lifestyle where he always had all money all the time. She was always giving him money to buy things. He doesn't know what he's going to do anymore, so he ends up having to go and move back in with his sister he hasn't seen in years, that he has avoided since he had all this money and stuff. So he ends up having to move back in with her, and she really doesn't want him back, so there's all these kind of problems with them getting back together and stuff, and she's really mad that he's been vanished for so long. And it's pretty much just him trying to, trying to figure out how he's going to survive when he has no money, and have to figure out how he's going to find ways to make money, and his whole goal is to see if he can find another older woman to try and, basically pay for him all the time so he doesn't have to do anything anymore. So he's kind of like scouting around and he's like going to the school with his nephew and seeing if there's any older women there, and it's kind of like him trying to figure out what he's going to do to find the next woman where he can kind of sponge off of. I don't know, I really thought this was a very fun movie. Like I said, I really liked the last one that he did, Instructions Not Included, as well. This has on here though deleted scenes, extended scenes, as well as some featurettes on here, as well as a commentary track on here with the director. But really fun movie. Next one here, this is from Lionsgate as well, and this was a movie for Lifetime, and I always like these Lifetime movies, like they did one on Brittany Murphy. The one I don't think it's come to DVD yet on Michael Jackson. There's been like lots of different ones. I've mostly watched a lot of these biopic ones, and this one is, they did one Saved by the Bell, Full House. This one is Britney Ever After. This is on Britney Spears, and I thought the actress that played Britney Spears was okay. She didn't look too much like her, kind of a little bit, but like not perfect. But it's basically though, like I said, a biopic on Britney Spears. It's kind of showing how she started in like the I think it kind of was going from like 2008 and like her doing an interview and then looking back at certain points in her life and kind of how her relationship with Justin Timberlake and how like when they first started in like 1990, I think it was 98, and how like they were kind of seeing each other and it was kind of like a secret thing, and then like all the kind of problems, and then when she had the thing dealing with when she shaved her head and had like the breakdown. It kind of was showing all the different kind of things in her life which were like big events and stuff like that, and kind of like I said, it was basically the 2009 looking back through an interview with her, kind of like talking to the interviewer about her life and how she kind of started and how she came on the scene when she was a teenager and all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of cutting all around to that, and problems like with, when she was with Kevin Federline, all those kind of things. Like I said, it wasn't like perfect for the actress, like I said, that played Britney, but it was kind of fun though, seeing like the people playing in sync and stuff, and it's got that like kind of fun aspect. I always like these kind of biopic things. This is not like the best done of all the ones I've seen, but still was an interesting one here. The next one here, Warner Brothers sent over a free copy of this one to check out, and this one I saw in theaters as well. Really like this one. It's kind of like Bubble Boy and Boy in the Plastic Bubble, that kind of story. This thing's called Everything Everything. It's basically though about this girl who's like very sick, and she's got like problems with like immunities, so she can't leave her house whatsoever, and her mom has kind of built this kind of like really expensive house where it's got like all these filtration systems, and she can't leave because like if she goes outside she could like immediately get sick and it could kill her. So she like lives in this house where it's all locked in and it's all like vacuum sealed. Like if anyone comes in, it seals it out so no germs can get in. And it's basically though about this kid who moves in next door, and he kind of sees her and he kind of starts to like her and she likes him, and it's kind of like this like relationship between them. but like the mother can't really know anything about this one because she wants the kind of this girl to be like in the house, and she's like panicked because her husband had died years back, so she's like really afraid of this daughter getting sick and dying, and so she's like totally paranoid about the whole thing. And it's kind of about their relationship, this secret relationship, and it leads up to like something end up happening, and then it becomes like this whole huge to do, and the mother's all paranoid about what has happened. But I really like this movie. Like I said, it's got that same kind of vibe of Bubble Boy. You know, Bubble Boy was sort of the spoof of Boy in the Plastic Bubble, but it's got that same kind of feel. Like that's really the only thing I can relate it to is Boy in the Plastic Bubble and Bubble Boy. That same kind of thing about a sickness, and also that one with the kid on the moon too. That was Born on the Moon. Sort of had that feel as well. But it has on here though a making of the film as well as deleted scenes on this one. But definitely give this one a chance. I really like this. The next one here is from Warner Brothers as well. As I said, they sent a copy of this one as well for free to check out. And this one is, you know, King Arthur, Legend of the Stone. This stars Charlie Hunnam and Jude Law. And, you know, there's been like a number of different, you know, films on King Arthur throughout the years. And this one, though, was directed by Guy Ritchie, you know, who Guy Ritchie did. You know, I think probably like my favorite of his movies was Snatch. But then he did the Sherlock Holmes films. So this is kind of like his take on you know, King Arthur, so it's kind of more of an action, kind of gritty kind of feel. Like if you know his films, they definitely have like a gritty feel. But they're basically the story. If you guys don't know, King Arthur was about King Arthur's father, who was kind of like killed and taken off the throne, and Jude Law kind of takes over. And King Arthur, as a kid, is kind of sent to this, I guess you would say like a broth. Yeah, he's sent to a brothel where he basically is raised there, and he doesn't know anything about his past or anything. And it's kind of about, you know, this sword that's in the stone, and it's kind of basically though to sum it all up though, Jude Law finds out about this kid still being alive, and you know he's like paranoid that the real king is going to take over the throne and be able to pull the sword from the stone. And it's kind of like Jude Law wants to kind of make sure this doesn't happen, and he's kind of paranoid about the whole thing. And it's, like I said, it's the same story that there's been lots of times about King Arthur, but done in Guy Ritchie's kind of style of a real gritty kind of like darker kind of feel to it. You know, I always really loved Jude Law, so I thought this was actually pretty well done. It has on here, though, some featurettes on here with Jude Law, on set with Guy Ritchie here, as well as a number of other featurettes on this one as well, but a pretty well done, you know, take on King Arthur. The next one I got from Vision Films is a movie called Camp Cool Kids, and it's basically, though, it's like this kid who's like really, really skittish. He's like paranoid about everything. Like, he doesn't want to do anything. He's afraid of like getting hurt, and he's afraid of germs. He's afraid of everything, and he's going to be going away to camp with his brother. And like Michael Gross plays his grandfather, and he's kind of talking to him, saying, you know, it's going to be all right. You know, this is going to be something different you haven't done before. And this kid like really doesn't want to do this, and he goes to camp, and of course, though, it's like it's kind of him at camp dealing with all these problems. Like there's these bullies at camp that are giving him all kinds of problems, and then like he really literally there like doesn't want to do anything. Like they're all going, oh, you want to go swimming? No, I'm just going to sit on the side. And it's kind of like watching this movie. It's like, is this kid ever going to do anything at this camp? Because like he has like a reason and a problem with everything, and he's kind of running off and sitting on his own and having all these problems. It has like a religious undertone to the movie as well, because it's like a religious camp, so it's kind of like a religious film as well. But it's essentially though about this kid, and is this kid ever going to, you know, do this? And there's also like kind of weird like stuff when they're like pranking the bullies, and then the one girl's like, why'd you do that to him? I didn't respect you for doing that. That was a bad thing. And like they do this weird stuff like putting like laxatives in the kids' brownies and stuff like that. It's kind of a fun throwback kind of kids camp film. And like I said, Michael Gross, you know, from the the Tremors films, you know, Family Ties, plays the grandfather in this one, the kid's grandfather. But I guess, like I said, it's a fun kind of camp type film. The next one here from MVD, and this is a movie, I had not watched this in a long time. This is one of those movies too that was lost for years. Like, it never had like released, I think, until 2008 originally is when it finally came out on like any format. And it's a early Joe Pilato film. I think it was filmed in the late 70s. And then it was a movie called Effects. You know, Joe Pilato, I always think of him from, you know, Day of the Dead, you know, choke on him. I always love that guy. And this is basically, the movie though, I was looking at it now though thinking, man, it takes a long time for like it to really pick up with like the stuff happening. But it's essentially though a movie about Joe Plato's like the camera guy, and it's like he's making this movie, this indie horror movie, and and the director is kind of crazy about the effects, and he's like, they got to be like perfect, and they got to be like super realistic, and he's like real obsessed with it. And Tom Savini's in this movie as well, you know, playing one of the guys working on the crew. But it's essentially though about making this movie, and then they're having all kinds of problems while they're making it. Like some of the actors are not getting along because two of them are dating, so they have all these sets of problems. And the thing that was kind of cool about the way they put this together too was, since like the two of the characters were kind of dating, they would have scenes where you didn't know that it was a scene from the movie. So like something bad would happen to them, then it would cut back to like cut, and it was like they were actually making this movie. And you know, the movie leads up to like something is weird and off colors going on this set that they're up to. Like I said, it takes a very long time for it to get to that aspect of it. But like I said, it's the brand new 4K scan of the movie, so it definitely looks so much better than it did in the past. As also has on here a documentary on here on the film, as well as some early short films. But a pretty interesting one. Like I said, I had not watched this one in a very long time. Looking at it now, it's like, because Tom Savini wasn't that known at the time, but he actually did the effects as well. But I was thinking like Tom Savini should have almost been the effects guy in this one. The next one here from MVD as well, you know, played the effects guy in the movie from MVD as well, as a movie called The Black Room, and this stars Natasha Hendricks, you know, from the Species films, Lynn Shay, Dominic Swain, and like I said, it's The Black Room. And a lot of people have cameos in this one, like, you know, James Duvall's in this one, Tiffany Shepis. So a lot of people pop in this film. And it's essentially, though, about kind of like this, like this house where, you know, Lynn Shay lived with her family. And in the beginning of the movie, though, there's like these, like, kind of like perverted like demons, like sort of like sex demons in the house that are all kind of up to no good with people. And you know, something bad happened to Lynn Shay and the daughter, and they all kind of got out of the house. And Natasha Hendricks and her boyfriend, you know, move into this house. And of course, though, as soon as they start getting there, they start seeing weird things. They kind of have, like I said, it's like sort of, it's a throwback to those like 80s kind of like sex kind of like succubus kind of films. And the second they go in there, though, weird things start to happen, because there was a room in this house, and they start to try and discover what this room means, like where really weird stuff in the past happens, and there's like flashbacks, and you kind of start to find out a little bit more and more about this room. And there's pretty good effects in here, like of the demons and the creatures and stuff like that, and about like the stuff happening to the characters and stuff. But it was sort of like the in Ghostbusters, you know, when Dan Aykroyd's character was having the scene with the ghosts, like sleeping with the ghost, it was sort of like that's sort of what was going on in this, especially like in the movie Scary Movie 2, that kind of scene as well. It was sort of, that's essentially what this movie was. But a fun, kind of crazy movie, and it has on here, though, some deleted and extended scenes on here, bloopers, as well as a commentary track on this one. The next ones here are from Umbrella Entertainment. These are Australian releases, but 3 of them are all region-free. So I'll tell you the one, though, that you guys have to have a region-free player to watch, you know, an all-region player to watch. But all the other ones, though, you can play them on any, you know, Blu-ray player, any DVD player. They don't have any region codings to them. And this one is, I remember this when this first came on in 2003. This was like a sci-fi original, like, movie event series that they did. And this is, you know, Children of Dune. And this was a, I think it was about like 4 hours. It was like 3 nights. I believe it aired 3 different nights, and it was a continuation to the Dune story. And these are very hard to explain, especially Dune, the original Dune. They're not movies that you can explain too well. And I have not seen the original Dune movie in probably like years and years and years. I need to watch it again, because, you know, David Lynch directed the original one. But this one has James McAvoy on it. McAvoy, sometimes I always say James McAvoy, it's James McAvoy, I don't know why I always say that, but, you know, who, this is like one of his really early roles, because now he's gone on to, you know, be in the X-Men films and Split recently, and Atomic Blonde. This is essentially about the 2 twins, the babies from the first film, and it's kind of like them kind of rising to power, and someone is trying to kind of take over their throne. And it's very hard to explain. They're trying to catch this weird worm-type creature. It's a very, very, you know, hard to explain, intricate sci-fi film. But it has on here, though, the making of Children of the Dune, as well as a commentary track and a featurette on the visual effects on this one. And this is a pretty cool thing here. This is, this one is region-free as well. This is a Canon Classics double feature. This has Death Wish 2 and Death Wish 3, and these are the Charles Bronson films. And he's basically a vigilante who's going and getting revenge on like bad people. And this, the second one is him in L.A. dealing with like but, you know, basically his daughter ends up getting killed, and he goes and tries to get revenge on the people that did it, and it's like him doing like these crazy like revenge scenes. This is definitely the kind of film that, you know, inspired films like John Wick. And then, you know, Death Wish 3 was him going back to New York, and then there's like this bad area that he goes to where like crime is totally taken over, and he's trying to like stop it and take out the bad guys. And Alex Winter is in that one as well. I think it was from 1985, so like right before Lost Boys, so a really early Alex Winter movie. The thing that's pretty cool about this one, though, just so you know too, it's got the unrated version of Death Wish 2, the theatrical cut of Death Wish 3, but then it has on here a bonus DVD, and that one is region free as well. I wasn't sure if that was going to have a region code to it, but it is, and it's totally region free. And it has the 3 different cuts of Death Wish 2. It has the theatrical cut, the TV cut, and the Greek VHS cut. So that's a pretty cool thing here, to have all 3 of the cuts of the movie like that, especially the TV cut, because a lot of movies, the TV versions, have like certain things they kind of film specifically for the TV versions and stuff, like alternate scenes and stuff. A lot of movies like that. It'd be kind of cool if they would do that more often, include the TV cut, like movies like Summer Rental and stuff like that, have like some really cool extra scenes and stuff that, you know, you never really see otherwise. Same with Problem Child 2. Had a bunch of TV cut scenes. The next one, this one is region free as well, and this is Opening Night, and this is Topher Grace, and he's kind of like a failed Broadway singer, and he kind of now is like running this stage production. It's the opening night for the stage production, and it's got everyone's in this movie, like Rob Riggle's in this movie, Taye Diggs, Anne Heche, Paul Scheer, so all these different cameos and people in this movie, comedians and stuff. The one woman from the show Crashing is in this. And it's basically, though, he's trying to, you know, he's having all these kind of problems trying to get this show off the ground and running for this first night, because he's having problems with some of the crew members. They're all kind of, you know, having problems. The actors are kind of, you know, arguing, and he's having all these kind of issues, and it's kind of him trying to do anything he can to keep this running smoothly and make this show actually happen and not become a total nightmare. And he's dealing with all these kind of problems as the night's going on, and things start going wrong after wrong, and more problems going on. Pretty fun thing, all about like putting on a Broadway stage production that night and having to, you know, musical, trying to keep it, you know, running, and him trying to keep it together. And the next one here, now this one is a one where you need to have an all-region all-region DVD player for it, because it's like in the PAL format, so it doesn't play on the regular one. This is a double feature here, and it's a movie called like Kaducha and Innocent Prey. Kaducha was like about these stones. It's like this development of houses that were built on this Aboriginal burial ground, like sacred site, and it's these people start having these dreams and find these stones in their pillows, and of course these stones mean death, and they're trying to figure out, you know, how to stop this and what all this means, and trying to get to the bottom of the whole thing. Innocent Prey is a PJ Soles film that she starred in. Both these were Australian films as well, and she finds out that her husband was this killer who's going around killing these women at night, and he ends up getting locked in the insane asylum. Of course, so he ends up escaping, and she's like paranoid and goes to hide out in Australia with this friend, and she stays in this mansion. Of course, though, there's this weird guy she stays with in there, and then it becomes a whole nother nightmare. So it goes from nightmare situations to nightmare situations. And both of these ones are pretty much taken from like VHS transfers. I mean, they're a little bit better than VHS, like a step up, but still pretty cool movies that I don't think really had ever had like major releases. It even says on here too that these are taken from the best sources available, because I don't think these ones are ones you really could ever get like a HD Blu-ray transfer for. And the next one here from Metropole Pictures, and I'll put a link for where you guys can get this one, is a movie called Union Furnace. Pretty interesting like mask on this cover here. It's basically, though, set in this small like town in Ohio, where everyone is kind of having like money problems, and it's basically, though, about a group of these people like that kind of like people who are like desperate and really need money. They kind of come together for this night, and it sort of has like a Saw kind of vibe to it a little bit. and they end up like finding out about this certain thing going on where if they go there and they go through with what they have to do, they can end up making this money. And they kind of all are in there, and the people are all in masks, and they're all kind of locked in this room, and they're like saying, well, how much money we're going to get? And we're like, you're going to go through these certain tasks and these certain games. If you do these things and so you survive, and only one of you will survive, one of you will get all of the money, but you have to do exactly what we say, and you have to follow through the rules exactly as they go. And the masks and stuff were kind of like Eyes Wide Shut kind of look, sort of mixed with like the strangers. Like they all had like these creepy kind of masks and stuff they were wearing. Keith David is in this movie as well, but it's basically, like I said, about these people that are all locked in this room and then having to go through these certain type of tasks. And I don't want to like ruin everything that goes on in this, but it's that kind of vibe. It was kind of cool. It had like an interesting look to it, like the look and the vibe of this movie. The next one here from MVD is a movie called Charlotte, and this is a anthology movie, and it's about a babysitter that goes to like watch this house, and it's funny, she sees this like weird doll, and she's like talking to the people who she's babysitting for. She's like, oh, you've got that very creepy doll. And they're like, we don't have any doll there. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'll see you later. And of course, though, like this doll basically ties her up and holds her hostage and like puts an apple in her mouth and like forces her to watch these movies on this tape, like these stories. So it kind of goes from one story to another. But between the stories, though, the doll is like sewing up the one's arms, and you keep seeing all these kind of changes to the woman, like what is she doing to her, like, and the stories on here are actually pretty good. They had pretty good production values to them. The one that I liked the most, I think it was probably the first one, was about these two sisters, these twin sisters, and like one of them had this like terrible accident, and lost her vision, and the other one was like this really like famous actress, and she ends up wanting to try and get her sight back, and she goes to like this voodoo witch doctor, and kind of what ends up happening to her. Like I really liked that one. That was actually one that definitely I felt like could like been expanded onto a whole movie. But all the stories in here are actually pretty good on this one. I don't know. I liked the doll because like the doll was like drinking a soda and like watching the TV and sitting there, and like, it wasn't like moving. It was just like or like cutting, the doll would be doing something else, like in a weird position and stuff. But a pretty fun, like I like that. Like I said, I like the wraparound part to this. The next one's here from Candy Factory Films, and this one is called Face to Face. This was kind of like Unfriended. It was all done through Skype, and it was about this one guy who wanted to reconnect with one of his old friends that he hadn't seen her in years and years, and like he finds her and then messages her on Facebook, and it's like, oh, can we talk? And they start talking on Skype, and it's all like throughout these different days and throughout the months and stuff of them talking, and the guy is like really depressed, and you see like he was really upset the first night he was talking to her, and he had like these pills and stuff, but he started talking to this girl, and it kind of made him change his mind about things, and he ends up starting to talk to her. And she kind of takes him along to parties and all these kind of things by, bringing her camera along, and they would go and FaceTime and stuff. And, both of them, though, have their own sets of problems, and he starts to kind of find out that this girl who seems like she's perfect might not be totally perfect herself. And it's kind of like, are these two ever going to see each other in person and stuff? Because, they both live in like far apart from each other. But a pretty interesting, like, done, like I said, all through FaceTime and Skype and that aspect. This one here was done in the first serial killer family, or the first known serial killer family, called Bender. And this has, who was it? This James Karen, from Return of the Living Dead. If you like this job, he's been in like the Willies and tons of stuff. But it's basically though about this weird family that is like, the stuff that they were doing, the serial killer family, and this one guy who ends up, because they have like this bed and breakfast kind of house where people stay at, and this one guy who ends up staying there. And it's essentially though about him there in this house, and he's like noticing these weird things are going on with the family, and people around town are like going missing, and it's like the weird stuff that the family is doing to them. An interesting like early serial killer take film here. And the last ones here, this one is from PBS. This is like a book that was from 2003, I believe, and this is from the creators of the book series The Gruffalo. This one is called Room on the Broom. And I remember this, I think like years back when the book first came out, I remember seeing the cover for this book. It's basically about this witch flying around on this broom, with this dog and this cat and stuff, and it's kind of like the witch, you know, lost some stuff on her broom, and she has to go around and try and retrieve them and find them throughout like the areas and stuff like that. So going, flying around, trying to find all the stuff that was lost. It's done in sort of like a computer animation, but done to kind of look like clay animation. Simon Pegg, though, does like the narration to the movie on this one. And the last one here, just to let you guys know about, is out from Time Life, and this is the best of Harvey Korman. And this is, you know, some of the best moments of Harvey Korman's on, you know, the Carol Burnett show. So if you guys are interested in this one is available now. But anyway, though, guys, that was all for the review portion of this video. Thanks again for watching, subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.